Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial Last Post Ceremony. My name is Lexa Peterson, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is leading aircraftman Shadrick Keddy. We warmly welcome Secretary of the ACT Division of the Air Force Association, Group Captain Macaulay Cottrell, retired. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is got by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
If able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops at Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed at the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record that they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Flight Sergeant Kenrick Payne. Kenrick Payne was born on the 15th of June, 1922, in South Forest, Tasmania, to Kenrick Taylor Payne, a farmer and First World War veteran, and Mary Winifred Payne. He was the first of their 2 children and their only son. Payne grew up on the family property at South Forest, and he attended the nearby state school in Smithton. In 1937, he and his sister Joanne were awarded scholarships to study at Smithton State High School. He left school in May 1938 and became an apprentice carpenter. For his leisure, Payne enjoyed swimming, playing cricket, and Australian rules football. By the time the Second World War began, Payne had moved to Devonport, where he was working as a carpenter. Having survived the Western Front, it is very likely that Kenrick's father advised his son to steer away from the army. Payne enrolled into the Royal Australian Air Force Reserve on the 25th of July, 1941. He enlisted in Hobart for full-time service in the RAF on the 5th of December that year and was accepted for aircrew training. Over the next year, he earned his wireless badge, completing that course on the 16th of September, 1942. This was immediately followed by the Air Gunners course, which he passed and was awarded his Air Gunners badge on the 12th of November. He was promoted to sergeant the same month. On the 15th of January 1943, Payne embarked from Melbourne on a ship bound for England. There he took further courses. He qualified as a wireless operator on the 11th of March and was promoted to flight sergeant 2 months later. In September, he posted to number 1651 Heavy Conversion Unit. Here, he was introduced to the short Sterling Mark III bombers, and his full-time crew was formed. 4 members of the crew were British, but his pilot, Flight Sergeant John Lees, was a fellow Australian. Payne and his crewmates joined number 196 Squadron RAF on the 1st of November. It was a period of transition for the squadron, which had been taking off frontline operations in preparation for transitioning from bomber to transport command. In the middle of the month, the squadron moved from its airfield at Witchfield to Leicester East. A further move to RAF Tarrant Ruston took place in early January 1944. Here, the squadron was re-equipped with Sterling Mark IV aircraft and introduced to its new role as a glider towing and special operations squadron. As preparations were begun for the invasion of Normandy, Payne, as part of John Lee's crew, took part in their first operation to France on the night of 3rd to 4th February, flying equipment to France for the French resistance underground network. The rest of the month was taken up with glider training flights. In mid-March, Payne's crew took part in their second operational flight to France. 4 days later, the squadron moved again, this time to RAF Keyville in Wiltshire. By April, navigation and glider exercises were carried out almost constantly at the squadron. On the 4th of April, the squadron was tasked to participate in a nighttime glider towing exercise called Exercise Dream. After a day of indifferent weather, the exercise went ahead. The evening was dark with rain clouds and drizzle. However, forecasts had predicted no low clouds over the intended exercise area. The squadron's aircraft began lifting off after 6 p.m. And initially, the going was good. The aircraft all took off in order and formed up quickly, each towing a glider with soldiers aboard. However, unexpected low cloud was encountered over the exercise area, with some hills in the area standing up to 900 feet high and the cloud down as low as 700 feet. The tug and glider combinations attempted to stay under the cloud cover, but were forced to fly up into it to avoid hills. It is thought that while trying to fly around a hill, Payne's aircraft struck the top of a tree, causing catastrophic damage to the sterling. The rope to the glider was either broken or cast off at this point, and the glider immediately went out of control and crashed, killing all 27 men on board. The sterling flew on for another 15 minutes, but it had suffered catastrophic damage in the collision with the tree, and it crashed about 18 miles from the downed glider. Payne and his crewmates were killed instantly. The remains of the British crewmen were recovered and buried in their home parishes. Payne's remains were recovered and laid to rest alongside Warrant Officer John Hill Lees in Haycombe Cemetery, Bath. Payne was 21 years old. His name is listed on the roll of honor on my left, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Flight Sergeant Kenrick Payne, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not worry them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over, but in Australia they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.